besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amber, the Crafty Reporter. Today is day 2 of our Marathon Society Spooky Sewing Marathon. Today we're going to be sewing up the Joliette by Stitchin Stine. You can grab the pattern off Etsy. I've listed it below in the description of this video. I am 5'8", 175. And here is the bag on me. It's a great crossbody. I also teach you today how to do the quilting and to make this really fun strap. This strap is a modified 1-inch version of the cell phone sling from Lynn's Handmade. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so these are the pattern pieces we're going to need to make the Joliette coffin bag. You're going to need your quilted front panel if you're going to quilt, and I did adhere the Decoville Heavy. On my back panel, I adhered my Decoville Heavy. I am going to add my badge backing and a cute fun tag on the back, and after I do so, then I will go ahead and use TheraFuse foam self-adhesive and put that on top, but for now I just have it cut out. For that badge backing, I did get this really wonderful tag from the Heartwood and Hide to help promo for this event. So you can get this on Jade and Chris's website. And I made a badge backing that is a 1/4 inch around once we attach it, and we'll attach it about right there. So that's that. And we're going to need both linings for the front and back panel. This is waterproof canvas from Fabric Therapy. This is the Neon Haunted Mansion print. We're going to need the gusset bottom. This is where both zippers, gussets will attach into. So I have the exterior with the Decoville Heavy attached and a waterproof canvas lining. I have a top and bottom zipper gusset. I have modified the length. I feel like it fits a little better at 21.5 inches long by the width in the pattern. So these are 21.5 inches long for the exteriors, and I cut the corresponding interiors. For the interfacing, I'm just going to use foam, and this will be sandwiched in between before I assemble the gusset fully. So these are 21 inches long. The bottom zipper panel is 1.5 wide. And then the top zipper panel is 5/8 of an inch wide by 21. We will need a zipper that is 21 inches long. I apologize, 21.5 inches long to match the zipper panels. We're also going to need 2 zipper pulls, 2 rivets, or you can do Chicago screws. I'm going to do these Chicago screws to match the theme of my bag. These will be to attach the handle. I have 2 Chicago screw corset rings that we're going to use for the crossbody strap to attach it. For the handle, I have a 2x8 inch piece of vinyl and an 8-inch piece of webbing. This will be our handle, and to create the edges, to hide them nicely and not have too much bulk, I'm using these camo strap-in templates from Carolina Little Stitches, and these will eventually just wrap around. We'll stitch it on, and then we will attach this with the Chicago screw onto the exterior. Last, you're going to need a strap. I did a 57-inch length of 1-inch strap, and I cut 12 inches off. I will be assembling this just how Lindsay at Lynn's Handmade Designs does her straps. It's very similar to the cell phone sling strap, so I'll go ahead and link her video here if you'd like to watch that. But to correspond for the strap, I have two 1" to 1/2 inch connector pieces, and this will be for the D-ring. So this is just like the cell phone sling. I've sized everything down to be a 1" strap down to 1/2 inch hardware. So correspondingly, we will need two 1/2 inch swivel clasps, a 1/2 inch D-ring, a fun woven label, and we're going to need 1" rectangle ring and slide adjuster to create the strap. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we cut our front panel pattern piece out, we are going to quilt a piece of vinyl. So I just have a piece of foam here, nothing special about it, it's not sticky or anything. A piece of my vinyl, and I don't glue based or anything, we're just gonna straight quilt it. So I also just pick an angle. You just have to draw your first line. I kind of do it because I want my quilting to be like this, because the pattern piece will essentially be cut out like this, but you want to quilt before you cut out that pattern piece because it could shrink because of the quilting. So I just picked an angle, and I use this chalk marking pen thing by Clover. So I have my line drawn. Sometimes I just blow off the extra dust, and we're just gonna sew. You can backstitch if you want. I'm not going to because we'll end up cutting it anyways. So we're gonna go ahead and just sew this line. I like the chalk marking pencil because I don't have to worry about it staining my vinyl. I literally just wipe it off. At the end, I'll use a damp rag and wipe really well. But now to make the next line, we basically line up the 1" along the line we just sewed. Okay, so I'm making a mark 1" to the right. You can go ahead and make multiple marks if you want, but I feel like it gets messier that way, and I don't like that. So I just do one at a time, and that's how I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and quilt the rest of this panel in a time lapse for you. Okay, now that we have all of our lines this way quilted, we can go ahead and do our crisscrossing ones. So all I do is I take my ruler, and I'm going to line up these lines with the ones we've already sewn, if that makes sense. So I just line up the ruler in this, like that, and then draw the lines. So you can start wherever you want. I kind of like to start in the middle-ish and then work my way out. It works best for me that way. So I'll do this one, and then you'll see sometimes I alternate, but I don't find that it's really that necessary. You just need to make sure your foam is bigger than your actual vinyl piece, and everything works out pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse doing the rest of this panel. Okay, now that I'm done quilting, you can see that's how it looks. This is from Fabric Therapy, this vinyl. It's so pretty. I'll link in the comments, but I'm gonna clean it now before I go ahead and cut out my piece, just because I am going to film some content. But you don't really need to clean it until you're done. But that's why I like the chalk pencil marker thing that I showed you, because it's super easy to clean off. The silver marking pens I usually are great, but they do sometimes tend to stay on the vinyl depending on which one it is if you don't get it off soon enough. So that one's just easier and it wipes right off. So now you can see. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna go trace my pattern piece on here and cut it out. I went ahead and cut out the pattern piece, and I stitched around the edges, and I also singed any threads that were sticking up. I would recommend still, even at this point, it's not as stiff as I would probably like for the coffin, so I'm going to use the pattern piece for the interfacing and just put Decaville Heavy on this front panel. I'll do the same on my back panel as well, but first I'm going to just fuse some Decaville Heavy on top of this, and then our front panel will be totally done. So you're over here at my ironing station, and this is going to be the back panel. The front panel, I've already adhered the Decaville Heavy to. On the front panel, I just quilted first and then applied this, but on the back panel, we're going to attach the Decaville Heavy. Then I'll attach my bag tag I'm going to use, and then I will put this Therafuse self-adhesive foam on top like this. So that's going to be the order that I do for the back panel. I did this on my pink glitter one, and it worked perfectly. I wanted to give you some tips to adhering Decaville Heavy properly. So the first thing is you always want to get Decaville Heavy wet. I have a spray bottle I keep at my ironing station, and I just lightly get it wet. Go ahead and place that down. It's probably about a ½ inch around that there won't be any Decaville Heavy. It doesn't have to be precise, it just has to stay out of the seam allowance. Then I take my iron on high. It doesn't have any water enough to make steam, but because you sprayed the Decaville Heavy, it will help it adhere perfectly. And it just needs high heat for a few seconds as I move down here. Now you want to let it cool completely before you start messing with it and sewing on it, and it helps it adhere really well. But you can see the corners aren't coming up here. You'd be able to tell if it was, but spraying it with water really is the trick. And you can see our front looks great. So we'll go ahead and let that cool down. The first thing we're going to do is attach our fun cork tag to the badge backing and put that on the back of our bag panel. So I'm going to get some double stick tape, put it on the back, and then center this on the badge backing. I just added a 1/4 inch around all the edges and rounded the corners with scissors. So we're going to go ahead and stitch this down around here. We're going to use a 4.5 stitch length. And let's go ahead and top stitch this. Okay, we're going to add our main back panel, add double stick tape to the back of the badge backing you just created. And we're going to place this centered two inches down. Now we're going to top stitch around this outer edge using the same 4.5 stitch length. I'm going to go ahead and attach my foam. This is from Fabric Therapy. It's self-adhesive foam and it's amazing. Just gonna eyeball it here. And then get my seam roller and adhere it. There is our completed back panel. Let's go ahead and move on to our handle. Taking your 2x8 inch piece of vinyl, go ahead and find the center mark down the long edge. You're going to apply some double stick tape along both long edges. Remove the backing and fold the long edges in to touch the center line you just drew. You want these long edges to actually touch when they're folded in. I always start in the middle. Now take a piece of double stick tape, I'm going to use 1/4 inch this time, and run it down the center of that seam. Remove the backing and apply your seatbelt webbing, lining up the short edges. I have a right and a wrong side to my seatbelt webbing, so I have my right side facing outward, since I do have my name embossed on my seatbelt webbing. Now that these are lined up, we're going to top stitch down each long edge at an 1/8 inch seam allowance at a 5 stitch length. Using this dog ear shaped strap camo tool from Carolina Little Stitches, I'm going to mark the halfway point so that I know kind of where to butt up my strap. Take a piece of double stick tape, applying it right down the center. Move the backing. And line up the edge of your strap. Since this is a bit thicker, I'm not going to go straight to the line, but a little bit before it. And you want to make sure that your front and your back match up so that when you top stitch, you're going through and catching both sides. Go ahead and repeat for the other edge. And now we are going to top stitch. I'm going to go down the short edge and then follow along the edges around here with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. I am going to do it at 4.5 stitch length. You're not going to back stitch because you want to bring your threads through to the back where you can tie them off and burn them, and they will be hidden once your handle is connected to the back. You're going to do that with both sides. Now you're going to go ahead and mark the center of this box. You can do it by hand, but this tool does have a handy little rivet marking area. So I'm just going to use that. This one looks a little low. So we're just going to go ahead and take our hole punch and punch a hole through all those, and then we're going to set it aside till later. There's your completed handle. Let's move on to our strap. For our strap, we are going to take the 12-inch piece of webbing. I am going to be attaching the D-ring portion. The way you do this is take some Fabri-Tac glue, and we're gonna put the D-ring on first. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of this glue on there. Take the D-ring and fold it to where it's flush. You don't want it folded under too much. You want it to where it's pretty much flush with this top seam here. And go ahead and put a clip or something to help hold it down while it dries. This stuff dries pretty quickly, but we just kind of want to baste that down. While we're waiting for that to dry, go ahead and take one of your strap ends and thread your swivel clasp on there. You want the bar part, the flat bar part, to be on the interior like this, okay? Now what I like to do is take my same Fabri-Tac and we're gonna smother it. So don't get too close to the edges, but don't be shy about the amount you use. Now take the end of your strap and lay it centered kind of towards the top, okay? and then take this other edge and fold it down. You want these to meet on the edges evenly so that when you top stitch you have them gathered right, and then kind of pull to get that in there. You can add at this point a woven label if you prefer under here. I'm going to do it on the other one since this one's already attached and drying. Just going to clip that and kind of help it. I like to let these dry for like 20 minutes before I go around stitching on them. So that one will be ready for top stitching. Now with our right side of our strap up, if you have one, go ahead and flip this around. So my right side's up. I am going to attach the D-ring portion onto this. So you also need your rectangle ring. You're going to thread your rectangle ring on here. If you have a seam, the seam needs to go to the wrong side of this. And now we're going to do the same thing. Go ahead and put some Fabri-Tac on all the wrong sides here that are exposed. Place your strap centered and fold this to where the rectangle ring is kind of butted up next to your strap. Okay. You also need to make sure that your edges meet up. So finagle it around to where these edges meet up, so when you top stitch, it will be neat. And clip and let that dry. Make sure everything's straight before you move on. Okay, so this portion of the strap is ready for top stitching, but we're going to let everything dry. We'll go ahead and assemble the last part of the strap. So taking your strap, wrong side up, thread it through your rectangle ring. Make sure, like I need to make sure my words are all facing the same, all my letters are facing the same way. Now on the opposite end, not the one you just thread through the rectangle ring down here, you're going to go ahead and take your strap through the up through the bottom and over the bar and back through. Go ahead and fold over at least once, and we're gonna just do 2 lines of stitching down right here. Now take this end that is threaded through your rectangle ring and go up through the bottom, over the middle bar and back through, pulling that gently because you don't want to pull all these off. So now you can see my strap has all the letters going the right way, and now I just have one more edge to finish and let dry. So pulling this around, I'm going to go ahead and thread my last 1/2 inch D-ring onto this strap end. And I'm going to put my Fabri-Tac, stuff is sticky, on here, again coating all of the wrong sides of this connector. I'm going to flip it over and put the right side down first so that I can add a woven label. So kind of up towards the top again, just like the other side, and centered. You are gonna have space on each side, and that's okay. Now I'm gonna put my woven label down and fold this over. I'm gonna line my woven label up with my edges here. And then this should all be a nice little sandwich. Pull my D-ring my swivel clasp through. And then when this gets top stitched, it kind of pulls these together. You could edge paint if you'd like. I'm not going to. This vinyl is very good, so I don't need to do all that. Okay, we're gonna let that dry and set it aside. We will top stitch it towards the end, but now it's done. The last thing we're gonna do before we sew the final bag together is pick a liner and an exterior, pin them together, and then you're gonna just baste around the edges and then trim off any excess that you have left over. Like this, after I baste, I'll trim off all that. So go ahead and repeat for the other side, and we'll just baste these. This one has foam, so it might need to be smushed down when you are clipping them together and sewing them. So make sure to try to line them up because this foam is thick and it adds height. So you want to try to have it all lined up a little bit. Let's go ahead and baste them together. Okay, now we're going to build our zipper panels. So go ahead and take the exterior and of the small zipper panel, and we're going to run double stick tape down one long edge. I'm doing 1/8 inch double stick tape. Then you're going to remove the backing and lay your zipper right side down, lining up the edge of the zipper. I don't have my pulls on yet. We'll do that once we build the entire zipper panel. I did cut my zipper a little longer just to make it easier to put that pull on. Plus, I don't put my pulls on because then you don't get a wavy zipper. Okay, go ahead and place another layer of double stick tape on top of that. We're making a little Sammy. And go ahead and get your liner of the same size. So I did the front first, or I guess she calls it the top. I do the top first. So I'm gonna lay it right sides down. I do have directional fabric, so I'm going to end up making sure my second piece of this zipper panel liner is the same, going the same way. Just lining up that edge nicely. Okay, we are going to sew this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let's go ahead and do that. Now fold back your liner, and I'm gonna finger press. You could use an iron if that's what you'd like. I'm just gonna finger press though. Push that liner away, flip it, and then pull the exterior away as well. You kind of want to make sure that your liner and your exterior line up. It's okay if it's a little off this way, but we need to make sure they're pretty much the same this way before we top stitch. Okay, now we're going to top stitch using a 5 length of stitch, and I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Now take your bottom zipper panel and you're going to do the same thing. Run a line of 1/8 inch double stick tape down the long edge. Remove your backing and lay your zipper panel face down. So your zipper will be face down. Go ahead and make sure you're lining up your edges of your exteriors. So I kind of got it started there and measured that. Just kind of eyeballed it. Try not to pull on your zipper tape at all. Now lay a line of double stick tape over that. And now this is where we're going to go ahead and lay down our liner, but making sure that since it is directional, it's the same direction as our top zipper panel. So if I lay this right side down right now and flip it back, do you see how the ghosts are all the same orientation? So that's what you're going to want to do as well. All right, go ahead and sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance again. Fold back your linings. Kind of finger press that out of the way. And do the same with the exterior. And I'm going to line up these edges and make sure they're good. Now let's just top stitch, same as before, 5 stitch length back stitch. zipper pulls. You can see here these exteriors are not exactly lined up, and I kind of want to make them more exact. I have to separate these anyways to add the zipper, so I'm just gonna, to add the zipper pulls. So I'm just gonna separate those all the way, and then we want to kind of make these look even. Now we can add the zipper pulls. So the way I add my zipper pulls is, since this side's longer, I'm going to do this side first and pull it down till we can get this on there. And let's see how that looks right there. And now those are not even, so I'm going to have to retry again until they are. Trying again. And I'm just having to do this because I was off a little, but you can see that that is pretty spot on. So we'll go ahead and pull that to the middle, flip it around to the other side, and you don't want any length longer than the other. So there we go. Start on the taller end first, and it is easier to put on a zipper pull if your ends are a little bit uneven. There we go. So now my sides are pretty even. I'm going to go ahead and trim up these, and then we can attach the gusset base. Now you're going to take your base and lay it right sides together with your zipper panel. Just try to center it as best as you can and clip that in place. And then flip it over and attach your lining of the base. Make sure your prints are going the right way so that when they're flipped over, they will be all the same. And do the same, just kind of line that up in the center. What actually I'm going to do is line it up to the front panel because I have more room over here that I can cut off and trim and make it more perfect. So we're going to line that up all the way to this corner. And we'll do the same for this. There we go. Now we can probably just go back and trim off about a 1/4 inch, maybe a little less, off of this back panel with my long Mormino ruler. So we're going to go ahead and attach this. Before I top stitch or attach these open ends here, I'm going to go ahead and trim off this back panel zipper. I'm going to do in between 1/8 and a 1/4 inch, just to make this a little more flush. I've now trimmed it so that these are even, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the exteriors together, line those up, and clip. And you're going to take your liner and roll up this lining as best you can, and then fold the liner over to meet. It's going to be a little difficult, but it's not impossible. Make sure you're really lining up these edges nicely. You may have to kind of pull on it here. And we're going to sew these together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can see this is not behaving, and I don't want this to pull apart because I'm going to have to redo my whole zipper. So just finagle with it till you get it right. Now we're going to pull this out right side out so we can top stitch. Just be careful with your Decaville light. You want to try to not bend it if possible. You might though. You might have to bend it a little. Yeah. You might have to even reattach it at this point. Pulling these from the seams here, you can turn it right side out. We're going to top stitch down these sides here. Now we will take our front and back panels and attach them to our gusset. I'm going to attach the back panel first, but it really doesn't matter. Either one works fine. I'm going to line up the bottom of the gusset 1.5 inches up from this bottom corner. You're going to make sure you do that on the front as well, because it makes sure that both of these will be lined up instead of one being more like this on the gusset than that. So it'll make sure they're both like this. So 1.5 inches up from this bottom corner is where you will start lining up this edge of the base of the gusset. So first we're gonna do is clip. Hi friends. Future Amber here. She did it wrong. She did it wrong. You're not gonna attach it for the back panel on the left side first. You're gonna attach it on the right side first, okay? Because it's the back. So whatever you attach on the left ends up being the front, essentially. So just so you know. I can't believe I did that wrong. It's still cute. It's just my gusset's on the wrong side. Sleeping. Okay. So you can see with the shortened gusset, everything does fit really nicely. We're going to go ahead and base this on at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Then we're going to attach our binding with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which will be the seam allowance that affects the shape of the bag. We just want to attach it with the first pass. The second pass will affect the shape more. But you can see this is the back, and then you make sure you attach the back to the bigger of the two gussets. This was my smaller one. Then we'll go ahead and put this one and repeat the same thing once we do that. And it's always 1.5 inch up. That will make sure that everything is not a little cattywampus, that it's all straight. So let's go ahead and base this at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now you can see by basting it, it really looks amazing. We did great here. The corners look great. We have the bunching on the gusset. So we're going to do the same thing. Normally this is opposite of what I do. Usually I sew my gussets like this, but with these corners, really, it's best to lay it flat as you're doing it. So we're going to attach the binding now. And you'll do the same thing but at 1/4 inch. And so you just fold down this corner until you get 1/4 inch away from this other edge. And then keeping your needle down, you pivot and then just fold this back up out of the way. And you should have no creases doing that. So we're going to go ahead and attach our binding now. Lay your binding right side down if you're doing fabric. I'm going to fold this back. You want to do this at a place that doesn't have bulk. Like you don't want to do it over here, right, with this. Go ahead and clip this around. binding to go past this fold for length. Leave yourself a little extra in case you need it. Okay. Now we're going to start sewing at a 1/4 inch, but lift your ending flap up. Start over here, 1/4 inch, and we'll just repeat what we just did. Okay, that's our final shape. Now we need to fold down our binding. So just fold it snugly over the edge, and then I like to tuck it in another time, and then fold down and clip. When you get to the corners, you're gonna just go one way, and then we're going to make like a little fold here at the corner, like that. See? And then clip. Now we're going to go and sew right before this edge right here. It won't affect the shape of our bag as long as you don't go past this line onto the lining, okay? And if all of your folds go over your stitch lines, then you should be totally fine to catch the binding. Now you're going to take your front panel and you're going to repeat the same steps just with the front, but I just want to help you line up so that these are even and not a little bit off. I was off on my first one, that's why I'm kind of stressing this point. So this edge is the one that's going to connect to this bottom gusset, side gusset, whatever you want to call it, this one piece of the gusset right here. So what you're going to do is measure 1.5 inches up, just like we did on this side over here, so that this lines up on the same point, and you're assured, as long as you don't shift too much, it will be at the proper spot. So mark 1.5 inches up, and then go ahead and transfer that around to the back. That's the part, there we go. Okay, so then when you're attaching it, you make sure that at this point that we marked is where this edge goes, okay? You make sure that that's your landmark to make these all line up. And then we're just going to repeat the same process, clipping along the straight edge. When we get to a corner where we need to turn, that's where you're going to clip a small little mark. Okay? And you can clip here and then rotate this down and keep going. So we're going to add our handle. I did attach the back on upside down, which is why my gusset, my bottom side gusset is on this side. It should be on this side, but I've already given you the right instructions to invert it the other way. But she's still cute. And I'm going to attach the handle still on the back, even though it'll open up essentially this way. Technically it should be like this, but the bigger gusset's back here. But it did turn out very nice. So that's what I get for working and sewing at the same time. We're going to take our handle and we're essentially going to attach the handle here and here, like that. And we're just going to use our Chicago screws. I want the handle to be a little bit lower. I don't want it to be such popping up so much. So I'm going to put it right about here. Let's see if I measure. It's about, I usually always eyeball this, but it's about 1/2 inch up from this fold right here. And when you're turning your bag out and you're pressing, you can fold on these little corners here, and it does help with the shape a lot. I just kind of finger press. It doesn't need it too much though. Everything fits pretty dang good. But do you see how they're all even and it's not cattywampus? That's from us measuring it. So you want to add the corset rings just down here, kind of centered. I'm just going to draw with my pen kind of where I want them to go. Let's see. This is about 1 1/8 inches down from the edge of this connector. About right here. There you go. A finished Joliette. Are you ready to see this? This turned out so good. Ah. Here's the strap. Ooh. Okay. I see you, Joliette. Where's Romeo? Just kidding. So, I had a lot of fun with you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe for more fun. Guess who's back? Back again. Welcome back to my channel, besties. Is that too much? Peekaboo. Intro schmintro. These are jump proof. You gotta jump, Con? You're good. Dang it, Skull. She's beautiful. She's beautiful. Double chin on deck. Work with me, yeah. Oh, Rod. Can we talk about this? Foolish mortals. Welcome back to my channel, Foolish Mortals. There's this guy I watch. He's like, he's ridiculous. He's a workout guy. My husband watches him. He's always like, welcome back to my channel, aliens. Aliens? Why are you calling me an alien? I am one, okay? I feel called out. Dude, you could totally. I mean, why not? Who's making this a freaking backpack? Who's doing it? I'm not, but somebody needs to ASAP. Just me and my cute Joliette. Who is Joliette? I'd like to meet her. Oh wait, here she is. She's purple! The best color on the planet! Besides black. Very clearly black. Wow. Foolish mortal.